Writing a decent essay in law school is crucial if we want to get top grades, but it's important to remember that there's rarely ever one single correct way to approach them. There is no blueprint that we can follow step by step to give us a first-class result. Nevertheless, there is a framework for success that can be followed when we are creating and writing our legal essays. From the moment we're actually given our essay title to the moment we hand it in, there are certain things that we can do to make all our essays better. There are certain principles that we can follow that are going to make our essays brilliant. So in this video, I'm going to talk about all the different ways that I use to make my essays fantastic, and at the end, if you stick around, I'm going to give you a free guide on writing the perfect legal essay. Before we even begin writing our essay, there are a few preliminary stages and steps that we need to think about, the most important of which is the research stage. To begin with, we need to have two clearly designated areas to write our essay and to take our notes. So my recommendation would be to open two documents on your computer, one titled Notes, one titled Essay, and break each document down into Introduction, Main Body, Conclusion, and References. At this stage, the research stage, we're only actually interested in working on our notes document. To research effectively, we need to be aware of precisely what the question is trying to ask from us. Many students fall into the trap of trying to answer the question that they want to answer because they know that area better, rather than the one that's actually being given. So spend some time trying to wrap your head around the question and whether it expects you to discuss, evaluate, critically analyse, etc. Once you've actually understood what the question wants you to do, it's now time to look at the appropriate materials, so we can turn to the relevant academic materials and also the relevant scholarly articles. My advice would be to focus on one, maybe two textbooks to form a high-level response to the question. So read the relevant chapter or chapters from those textbooks and try to understand the law in a general context. From that, you should be able to form a general answer, a general opinion as to the essay question, which should be able to guide your research from there. By having a rough understanding of your answer, it makes it a lot easier to identify relevant cases, journal articles, statutes, treaties, and so on. Plus, it will make searching through Westlaw, LexisNexis, or some other legal research database quicker and more useful. Whenever you find a piece of information that could be useful or relevant to your essay, remember to drop it into the correct section in your notes document, so the introduction, main body, or conclusion. And also, don't forget to put a reference. The amount of time I've wasted trying to find a reference because I didn't cite that source straight away is unbelievable. So write down the piece of information that's useful and give it a reference to make your life so much easier when it comes to actually writing the essay itself. Once we've done all this and have all the relevant information in our notes document, we can begin writing the substantive part of our essay within our essay document. The introduction of your essay should be concise, and the purpose of your introduction is to show the reader that you've truly understood the question, you have an appropriate focus to answer the question, and you've presented a clear structure and guideline as to how you're going to lead that reader from the introduction to the conclusion to present your findings and to answer the question itself. Put simply, you need to tell the reader what you're going to discuss and how you're going to lead them from start to finish to reach an eventual conclusion on the question. Many students will use the introduction incorrectly, seeing it as an opportunity to intrigue rather than inform. They often believe that an essay is like a story, where the outcome can't be revealed until the end. But an essay isn't like a story at all, and effective essays will hint at the eventual conclusion right away. Just take a look at this introduction that I wrote for one of my essays. I think it's a pretty good example of how to write your introduction well and give the reader a clear guideline as to what you're going to say and the eventual conclusion that you could reach at the end. The main body requires you to demonstrate three things: analysis, personal expression, and appropriate style and tone. Although you need to demonstrate that you actually understand the law and the relevant legal concepts behind the essay, in other words, actually describe the law, the most crucial component of writing a first-class legal essay is analysis and evaluation. You need to demonstrate that you can identify the limitation of a particular law or point of view, consider where a judgment is incomplete or illogical, and develop your own viewpoint throughout the essay. Many law students tend to leave their analysis and evaluation until the conclusion, but this is far too late. You need to incorporate and intertwine your analysis within the essay itself. So whenever you make a point or make a statement about the law, you need to determine whether or not it is true or false, whether or not the argument is strong or weak, and also whether or not there are any holes in the academic opinion or within the law itself. I've also found that it doesn't really matter how clumsy your analysis and evaluation actually is. The important thing is that you don't just sit on the fence. You take a side, you have an opinion, and you back that up with supporting evidence, whether that's from cases or from academic opinion, and so on and so forth. Crucially, ensure that each of your points are well developed. When a student isn't very comfortable with the area of the law that they're talking about, they tend to move on very quickly. Instead, be comfortable with the idea that the law can be quite grey, it can be quite complicated and unusual. So have an opinion and stick to it and support it with enough evidence and you'll be absolutely fine. First class essays are truly unique. You know, when a student actually writes a really good essay, you can see that they not only understand the law really well, but they've made great efforts to express their true selves and their true opinions. Importantly, you should aim to explain key concepts or ideas in your own words. This shows that you actually understand what these concepts or ideas are without relying on someone else's formulation. Lots of students think that their own ideas or interpretations or opinions are less valid than those of their professors or, legal academics. But the reality is that all opinions are equally valid. If you have an opinion that differs from your lecturer or from the leading academic in that particular field, then don't be worried to disagree. Do whatever you want, say whatever you want, as long as you have the opinions and the cases and the statutes to back it up, that's fine and you'll be rewarded for doing so. Similarly, quotations should be rarely used, and when they are used, they should be used in moderation and with good justification. The problem with putting too many quotations into your essay is that you start to water down your opinion and water down what you're trying to say, as it makes it look like your essay is just a patchwork of everyone else's ideas and doesn't clearly demonstrate your own understanding of the law. There are only really 3 instances in which we should be putting quotations into our essays. Firstly, it supports something we've already said in our own words. Secondly, it's difficult to summarise the topic in our own words due to a certain complexity or technicality. Or thirdly, it would be less effective to do so, perhaps because the original quotation is very well known. When you write a legal essay, you have a choice as to whether you write in the first person, so saying things like, I argue that, or writing in the third person, where you say, it is argued that. It is completely up to you. However, as I mentioned a number of times in this video already, it's really important that you get your point across. You see, if you decide to use the third person where you say, it is argued that, that can mean both I argue that or others argue that. And that can be quite confusing to the reader and it doesn't help you to get your point across. So if you do choose to use the third person or your university does make you use the third person in your legal essays, then be aware of that limitation and ensure that your own opinions and your own points of view does come across adequately and properly in your essay. Other than that, ensure your essay is clear, concise and accurate. You need to really understand the law before you write anything down. Honestly, it's the most crucial step of writing your essay is to have a very clear and concise understanding of the topic you're writing about, because if you don't understand the law, then your reader's not going to understand the law and you're going to get pretty bad marks. So it is as simple as that. Understand the law, then start writing and make sure it's clear, concise and accurate. The purpose of the conclusion is to persuasively draw together everything you've already argued and summarise it into a nice, neat package. The problem that most students tend to have is that they start introducing new material, new thoughts and new points of view in the conclusion. But this is a mistake. Within the conclusion, you're not trying to introduce anything new, you're just trying to answer the original question. Introducing new material at this stage is only going to weaken your argument, so don't do it. Remember that with an essay, you are trying to answer a question, and by the time it gets to the conclusion, many students forget about this, and it completely destroys what they're trying to say. So ensure throughout the essay you are trying to answer the question, and the conclusion just brings together that culmination of thought together into one concise, short paragraph. Finally, every claim that you make should be supported with an appropriate reference. Often you will need to point the reader to a primary law such as a case or statute, but other times the academic opinion in journal articles or books will suffice. This is where writing down all our references at the research stage of our essay becomes really handy. We no longer have to go hunting for our references because we already put in the time to make a note of them at that initial preliminary stage. Your university is likely to have its own guidelines on the referencing that they want you to do, such as our Scholar, so do make sure you check that out before you start writing any essays, otherwise you will lose marks. If it's an exam, you don't have to write full references, but it's a good idea to try and attribute the source to some extent, so saying that Evans said this thing, or in the case of Donohoe and Stevenson, this happened. So just a very brief reference, not a full reference as you would expect in a proper legal essay. There is no one-size-fits-all for writing the perfect legal essay, and different essay questions will expect different things from you. However, this video hopefully gives you a really decent framework for writing really well when it comes to your law essays, from doing the research and actually writing the main body of the essay itself to referencing. So hopefully you found this video useful, and if you did enjoy the video, make sure you give it a thumbs up and do check out my other videos on helping you to tackle your law degree. Anyway, thank you for watching and I shall see you soon. Goodbye. Oh, and I almost forgot, if you want my free guide on how to tackle your legal essay, then do make sure you download it in the description section below. Thank you very much.